G'day fellow woodworkers, Billy Wood here. Check out these two beautiful Cambion ash front entry doors I've been working on for the last couple of weeks for a duplex home. Today I'm going to be staining the one face on this door. And I'm going to show you the way which works best for me. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it, I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but this is the way it works best for me. Like I've had to teach myself everything in joinery from A to Z, including staining. I've never had anyone show me how to do anything, so this is how I've taught myself to do it, and it works for me. I thought this door would be a really good example to do a little video on, because there's so many different details in it, with grain running this way, grain direction running this way. I've really had to think how I'm going to do this. I had to put a lot of thought into how I'm going to do it all properly and smoothly and without mistakes. So it's not just a matter of dipping your sponge in stain and whacking your stain on, because you've got this groove here, you've got timbers running this way, and you've got the side pieces running this way. And with stain, you've got to run the stain the direction of the timber grain. So the side one's going to have to be running this way when I stain it on there. The problem is with this groove, when I'm staining along here, too much stain's going to come in here, so it's going to kind of puddle in here, and especially when I get to this lip here, it's all going to build up and puddle in there. And then I'm going to be trying to quickly get it all flat to the same stage as this one. But while I'm trying to fix all this, the stain I've already put on over here is sitting there for too long, so it's going to soak in more, and it doesn't take long to soak in. So once I've finished stuffing around with this and trying to get all this right, once it's all dry, you're going to have dark spots here, you're going to have dark spots in the corner, and it's just going to be a nightmare. So I've had to spend a bit of time thinking how am I going to do this the best way so I can't make a mistake. See this side piece of timber? See, I've already put a V-joint in here. I'll explain why. So I'll come over to this one. So this door's not 100% complete yet, but this is not glued on either. But this is what I'm talking about. If I haven't got, there's no V-joint on this one yet, and I'll show you why I've got to have a V-joint. So when I'm running the stain along this grain, I'm going to run it over here, but the problem is the timber's running this way on this side piece. So you're going to have stain running across that grain there, if you know what I mean. And it's going to be real, and stain shows up big time. If you've got any fine sanding marks in your timber, even after a 120 grit with an orbital sander, it all shows up. The purling, because the orbital sander is spinning that way, so all your rings will show up, unless you go right down to a 320 grit, but I don't like sanding that fine. So I just finish with a belt sander with the 120 grit and sand along the grain. So then you can't see any sanding marks, because it's running the same direction as your timber grain. So what I've worked out I have to do here, so I don't have this problem here, and also when I'm ragging the stain on here, how am I going to follow that line perfectly with a rag without your rag sort of dragging across this timber here? You're going to get stain marks dragging across your timber on this section, and then you're going to try and fix it, and it's not going to work. So I've worked out that I'm going to have to put a V-joint in here, which I've already done on this one. See? I've just got that little V-joint there. That's going to break these two pieces of timber up, so I can do them in different stages. First I'm going to be doing this section in here. I'm going to be staining that section in there by itself, and then that one and all the rest. And then after that, I'm going to tape all this edge up, and then I'm going to do this face with the stain, and then I have to do the same to the other side, which I've already done. at the moment. See, it's all been stained, beautiful. But the very last thing is, and then I'll take this side up, and then I'll stain just this edge, so the stain's running along the grain, and then I haven't got my rag dragging across the face here. So pretty much you can't do this whole door in one go. It's too much of a rush job. It's too fiddly, and you're never going to get it perfect. Trust me, you will not get it perfect. So you've got to do it all in stages. So I'll just demonstrate how I do all that. So I'm going to get my painter's tape, which is really good stuff, because it's perfectly straight, and it doesn't, like duct tape and all that, it stretches and it's very hard to keep straight. But this stuff's really good. So I go along this edge, be really precise, really spot on. I'll continue as far as I can go on this side. Do the same on that edge, right on the edge. It's got to be really accurate too. It's a bit of an art, but you'll get the knack of it. So here we go, this is the stage we're up to. I've taped all this up nice and precisely along this edge. I've put a bit of tape here along this edge on this piece of timber running that way. So I'm going to use a paintbrush to put this, a little fine paintbrush to put this black stain on. By the way, that's the stain I'm using. Black Japan, Feast Watson. Yeah, so I'm going to use a paintbrush to put this on, and so it doesn't build up here on this edge and get onto this piece of timber. I'll put some tape there, because if it does get on that piece of timber, it's going to soak in there. And then when I stain this piece of timber right at the end, it's going to be a dark spot here, because that's pretty much got 2 coats on it. And then the customer's going to say, I've spent a fortune on these doors, and there's a dark spot there. I don't like that. Redo it. And then pretty much we have to redo it, and that's an absolute disaster. So having to sand, we have to, because you can't just repair that spot. You've got to sand the whole thing back, all the stain off this section, and then redo it. So if you just try and sand that spot off and fix that spot, it shows up. There's no way you can hide it. So you've got to redo the whole thing again, and you've got to go on site, pick up the door, bring it back here. It's just not worth it. So with joinery, you've got to give the customer nothing at all to complain about. Nothing. You have to be a perfectionist with joinery. You really do. Everything you do has to be perfect, pretty much, because the customer has every right to say, no, I'm not happy with this tiny mark here, and then you've got to redo it all. So really, really be smart with how you do things. Work out the best ways so you can't make a mistake. See, with this, I can't make a mistake there. If I put it on my stain, like I can't get it on this edge because it's got tape there. Just little things like that can save massive, massive problems in the future. So here we go. Just don't get too much stain on, because a little goes a long way. I put this piece of timber right on the edge onto this tape. So when I'm bringing the stain over, if it drips down, it's going to just land on here. Because once again, if it drips onto this, you've got to sand the whole thing back again. So just everything you do, just be really careful. Set it up so you can't make mistakes. So now I'm going to put the stain on. I'm going to get every edge, make sure you get all up there. Right along that edge, right on this edge here. So there you go, that's all done. You can see why you need the tape there. See, imagine the tape wasn't there. What a nightmare. I'm sure a very good painter could do it neatly, but yeah, I go a bit too fast when I do things, and I sort of need to put this tape on. Anyway, I can peel all this tape off now. And first I went around and checked everything, make sure I didn't miss any spots. All the edges, all done properly. Now I can take all this tape off. I've got all the tape off. You can see there's a few splatter marks from the paintbrush. There, like that won't show up when you stain it. They're just too small. But me being such a perfectionist, I'm going to sand them off. I just like to use this. It's nice and flat. And also once you've done all that, stained it all and taken the tape off, because I had that piece of timber up here with a stain on it, and I've been moving that around. So once you've done all that, go over it with this. I've got this is a 120 grit on there. So just go over the whole lot again to just get rid of those tiny marks you can see from sliding the timber around. These are just things you have to do. And my sweat marks, it gets that hot up here and I'm always sweating. I'll finish the table off with a beautifully finished with the 120 grit, and then sweat comes off my forehead or my arms, and you gotta sand all that off again. Because once water gets on your timber, it makes a grain stand up. So you gotta sand that off straight away. And notice how I just do one side first, half of the door. I don't go do one side, come over here, do the other side, go back here, because that just takes too much time, doesn't it? Walk from side to side. So just concentrate on one side first, and then walk over to the other side. Just another way of saving time. I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but if you work in a busy place like I do, you've got to do everything in the quickest way as possible, and to get a beautiful result at the same time. That's why you have to be a smart joiner. You have to work smart. You don't have to work hard, you have to work smart. A smart worker will get a job done 10 times quicker than a hard worker. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm not a hard worker, I'm a very hard worker. But I work hard and smart. That's why I can get so much work done. There you go, done. Look at that. Beautiful. No marks anywhere. Ready for the next stage. The first air gun. Blow all the dust off, get it all out of this groove. Also wear a mask when you should wear a mask always in joinery, especially when you're sanding. Even though I'm not now, but I should be. So this is the next step. I've got to tape along this edge. I've got to cover this whole side piece. Just got to have the tape right on this inside beveled edge on this side piece of timber. So when I coat it, when I put the stain on there, I'm still getting this beveled edge on this piece of timber. So now, it's a bit tricky because you've got to put it on there, just hanging over that face, just enough. Struggling a bit here. Just enough so you can push that down and cover that beveled edge, see? See how I push that tape down just on that 45 beveled edge, so I can only get stain on this one. And you need, to be a good joiner, you need good eyes, you need good eyesight. So if you haven't got good eyesight, especially when you sand timber, you need really good eyesight. So if you haven't got the best eyesight, go to the optometrist, get glasses like I do. So there you go, I've done all that. Notice how I've got it right in that beveled edge there. I've taped all the side up because you're going to get runs going down. Can't help that. This side, done the same thing. I've covered that whole side up. Now it's time to stain. But first I'm going to explain how I'm going to do it without actually doing it. I'm going to explain beforehand, because when you're staining, with anything, you got to concentrate. So when so look at that, bit of sweat on there from my hand. Now I'm going to have to sand that back off. But that's all good. But if I'm staining this, trying to concentrate and trying to talk to you at the same time, I'm gonna stuff up. So I'll explain what I'm going to do now. First, I'll get my sponge into the stain, give it a nice good soak, squash it out a bit, and then I'm going to start as far over as I can and do one run, do that side as quick and as neat as I can. Then I'll do the same on this side. I'm only going to do one panel, concentrate on one panel at a time, and then do this side. The best, I don't really know what the best applicator is for putting on stain. I'm sure there's better ones to use, but this works for me. It's a good sponge. It really, when you put the stain in there, it soaks in enough so you can get it all done in one go without having to dip and get more stain on your sponge. Because in that time, while you're doing that, it's soaking in. It's been on there for too long and it's soaking into more here than more over there. So you've got to have an applicator which will be able to do it all in one go without re-dipping it. I find this the best applicator. It's a sponge, it's square and it's flat. So when you put stain on, it's got to be a nice, flat, even spread. So if you just use a rag, like rags are all over the place, and when you put it on, it's going to leave streaks. It's going to leave darker streaks of stain, lighter streaks of stain, because there's more pressure here, more pressure there, more pressure there. So it's got to be a flat, or if you even use a rag, if that's all you've got to use, just make it into a nice pad like that and then do it. But it still won't be perfect. But I find this really good. It gives you a nice, flat, even spread. And you'll dip it in your stain, get enough on there, and then I should be able to do this whole panel in one go. Look what I just noticed. Remember I was saying before about getting sweat off? See that? That was just from my hand. A bit of sweat went on there, and as it's dried, it's gotten a bit lighter, so that'll show up. So I'm going to have to sand that off. So there's so many things you've got to be careful with joinery. You really got to be on the ball. Always got to be thinking. If you take your mind off the job for 5 seconds, it could be a big mistake, and a big expensive mistake. If I made a mistake on this door, like these doors are very expensive. Said the pivot hinges I'm going to put here, they're $3,500 each. So there are your hinges. That's a pivot hinge system. That's all of it, $3,500. And this door, I'm not sure what the boss is charging, but I could imagine, God, they'll be around $12,000 or something like that. So if I made a mistake on this door, because I took my mind off the job for 2 seconds, it could be a very, very costly thing. So be on the ball all the time with joinery. Always think every second. You really have to. Anyway, let's get onto this staining. And you can see what I've done here. So I've even put tape on this edge because I'm only working on this panel. So I put tape along this edge so when I've got the sponge, I don't accidentally get it here. Just same thing again, there'll be another dark spot on here if you don't sand it off. But when you sand that spot off, you've got to sand the whole panel again. So you've got to really do things properly. So here goes. Wish me luck. So I'm going to dip my sponge in. Make sure there's going to be enough on there to do your whole job. Don't put too much on there. The reason I don't put too much, because say if I start from the center, you're going to get a whole heap, a big puddle of it in the center, and then you're going to smoothen it off. But what happens, you're going to have that puddle in the center, and that's going to soak in more than this area. And then you're going to spread the whole lot. But this area here is always going to be a bit darker. So that's why you've got to be really quick doing this, but at the same time neat. So I think I've got a bit too much on there. And now I've got stain on there from my hand, but I can do that later. All right, here goes. You know what I'm trying to say to you, don't you? About the pressure. But I'll show you that later. Now here, look at that. One run. That's why a sponge is so good, a flat sponge. One run. Then turn your sponge over. One nice run. Look at that, beautiful. So I've got a good applicator. And I didn't have to re-dip my stain because I did it in one go. See that? Look at that. Beautiful. That's done. See, at the moment, that's very black. See, the client wanted this certain finish on there, a certain look, which he's trying to match a photo which he got off Instagram. And it looked charred. I had to look at it and it sort of looked charred to me, like burnt, lightly burnt. But I know how to do it. I know how to get that same effect with this stain, and I'll show you later on. But now I'll just rub all this off. You don't want it to sit there for too long. See that? Success. Beautiful. See, I've got a bit on this edge over here, but it's on the tape, so it's all good. Also, gloves. You have to wear gloves when you're using stain. Because you get this stain on your hands, especially fingernails, you're going to have black fingernails for 2-3 weeks. It takes forever to come off. Just time cleans it. So always wear gloves when you're staining, or when you're doing anything really when it comes to liquids. So I'm just going to go and do that now. But take your gloves off when you're trying to work with sticky tape because it's a nightmare. Then I'll go over here and I'll do the same thing. I like to keep doing the same thing the whole time, just so I've got a good rhythm going. So you're not changing hands all the time, you're not walking over the other side all the time. Just while you're on a good run, while you're on a good thing, keep going. putting all these right sides on. Specialise in that. I'm just about to run out of tape here and I've got no more. So, I couldn't work at a better place, Swadling's Timber and Hardware, because Swadling's Timber and Hardware, they've got a hardware store here too. So I don't have to stop what I'm doing, get in my car and go to Bunnings or something like that. I only have to walk 30 seconds and I'm at a hardware store. Best place to work, Swadling's Timber and Hardware in St. Peters. They've got everything. They've got everything with hardware. They've got every timber, every species of timber. Everything for building, everything for joinery. And if they haven't got it, they'll get it for you. Alright, follow me. Let's go to the hardware store and get some more tape. Just while I'm here, I'll show you what we got here. It's a bit dark, but that's our timber mill. Probably the best timber mill going around. They do everything here and they're very good at it. Makes my life a lot easier with things. Plenty of timber up there. Look at that, all that American oak. That's all the melon timbers where they make different profiles and heaps of crazy things, skirtings and many other things. Over there you got American walnut. Got it all here. Part of the mill down there. Got all the aluminium in there. Look at all this. All your skirtings, all your architraves, everything you need. Got it up there, you got cedars, Tassie oaks, maples, everything, profiles. All these doors. Look at them. Look at all the doors. Every size door you need, solid core, hollow core, everything. More stuff over there, beadings and whatnot. Down here you got all your MDFs, plywoods, marine plies, exterior plies, everything. Chip rock, more ply, more. Oh, it's just everything here. This is their hardware store. Goes upstairs there too. Plenty more stuff up there. This is the hardware store. This is where I'm going to go steal my tape from, because it's Sunday and I'm the only one here. But I'm not going to steal it. I'll let them know on Monday. Take a photo of the barcode and yeah, they trust me. This is the tape I use. What is it? Trade 14 day, blah, 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 blah. Good stuff. Paint shop, paint. And that's just inside the factory. God, wait till you go outside. I'll show you that in a later video. Actually, I'll just poke my camera out the window here. Just give you a bit of a glance. Everything concrete. Bloody all stuff over there, all timbers. So many LVLs and everything over there, and it just still continues on over that other roof. There's heaps more stuff. They've just got absolutely everything here. It's like your one-stop shop. One-stop shop. Get your joinery done here, get your milling done here, get your 3D renders done here, which I can do, which I'm happy to do for you. Just everything. Just come here and it's, you know, great service, great bunch of blokes. Yeah, great place to work. So handy for me having a hardware store and everything right here, all the timbers I need. Milling services downstairs, like sometimes I've got to draw something up on SketchUp, which I'll show you how to use in another video. But I just draw it up on SketchUp, give it to them, and they give it to me. And it's spot on every time. Makes my life a lot easier. Anyway, I just wanted to do that walk through Swaddlings for you. They didn't get me to do it or anything. I just thought I'd do it as I'm walking to get my tape. So now see how I peel this tape off. It's done a pretty good job, but still, it's just so hard to do. Still gotten on that bit of timber a little bit on that side piece of timber. It's really hard because the stone is so thin. Like, I did everything I could. I even put the tape down into that bevel, but it's okay. It's not a problem. But you can imagine if I didn't have the tape there, it would have been all run down here. And then I've got to sand it all off, and yeah. Anyway, see how this side looks when I pull the tape off. So that looks pretty good. Not sure what I did different on this side. Anyway, it's all good. And look, again, you got to be careful. So I was just peeling that tape off and it's splattered on there. Rub it all off, length to length. Just got to be so careful with everything. Just, these things happen all the time. You just got to be really do things properly the first time. How that build up there. So I'm going to have to try and sand that off a little bit, because that will show up once I put another coat of stain on this piece. It'll be darker in just that spot. The untrained eye wouldn't notice it, but I wouldn't even notice it, but I know it's there. I know I've done it. So that's just how my brain works. Now the last bit of this staining, this door, is going to be these side trims. So now I'm going to put the tape along this edge here, right just along that edge on this timber. Flip the door over, do the same to the other side, just so when I'm staining this you don't get any stain on here, which is still very tricky because stain is so thin and it gets under the tape. That's why you really got to get the tape right into that groove, and don't put too thick a coat on at once. Just got to put the right amount on your sponge so you don't get too much runs, so you don't get too many thicker spots. And once I've done that, tape both sides of the door, both edges of the door, and I'll just rag, I'll probably use a rag on this and just finish that one off. But I'll show you that when I'm up to it. I won't be flipping this door by myself because it weighs over 300 kilograms. So we need 4 blokes to do that. So we'll do that tomorrow, Monday, when they're all here. Oh, but first, I'm waiting for this stain to dry, aren't I? So I can show you this little trick to give it that charred look. You see at the moment, you can sort of see the colour of the timber coming through. But just sort of not enough for what they wanted. It's a bit too evenly black all over. So I'll just wait a bit and then I'm going to show you that. I'll just show you on one panel how to do it. G'day fellow woodworkers, welcome back. This is the next day, Monday morning. Yesterday was Sunday where I was here all day. And as I said, today I'm going to be staining these sides, these side pieces, either side. And that's pretty much the job done then. But what I'm going to do, I've got to put tape on this edge, both sides. And then I'm going to flip the door over and put tape on the other side, just so the stain doesn't get onto these boards here. But I was thinking ahead, like you've always got to think ahead doing joinery. What's going to happen if this is stuck down like that, and if I get any runs, which I'm trying not to, I'll do my best not to, but if I do, the runs are just going to come over here and go on to my job. So I've come up with this little idea, which I just thought of then. If I do the edges, if I sort of bend the edges over like that, if I do get any runs, it's going to run down, run on this edge, run down there and just drop onto the ground. Because as I said, you just, with all aspects of joinery, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you've just got to really think what can happen, what can go wrong. You always got to think ahead with joinery. Think ahead 3-4 steps. Don't just think of the job at hand. Think about, can I do this? If I do this, what's going to happen to the next step of the job? And if I do that, what's going to happen to the step up? What's going to happen to the next step after that? So you really got to put a lot of thought into it. So I reckon this little trick will work. So if I don't do it and then I get runs on there, that's a disaster. Imagine those runs all along here. Absolute disaster. I'd pretty much have to sand the whole door back again, and that's not happening. So you just really got to do everything you can so you can't make a mistake. Alright, so we're going to go back this way, half onto the saw sills, lift it up, bring the bottom over to about here. Not here, because the saw sills will just obviously tip over. I'll tell you as I go. Someone up here. Just don't slide it, please. Up. Lift. All right, put that edge down. All right, now walk it back to about here. Yep, righto, go down. You all right? Hey, you got no room there. Go up there.
Oh
Lift
my
this.
God. Oh, that's heavy.
Yep. Good. Righto. All good. Thank you. All right, so here we go. I've taped up all my edges. Got that lip underneath, so if I get any run, it's going to just run off that edge and fall on the ground. So wish me luck. I'm not using a sponge this time because the sponge just soaks too much and that's when I will get heaps of runs. So I'm just using a rag. Don't get as many runs, or you don't hardly get any runs with this. When I get under there, I've got to really make sure that I do it right and not go over the blue tape onto the face of the door, otherwise I'll ruin it. It's hard to see. Should be okay. It's looking good. And at the same time, I'm meant to be doing this as quick as I can. Don't flood the top of it too much because stain's going to get under this tape onto the door, which it will, and it does. Alright, now I'll do the same to the other side and that'll be the door done. All done. Also another thing, when you peel the tape off, because sometimes you might have a bit of a build-up of stain on there, so don't peel it inwards because you're gonna get stain's going to run off onto the table. Also, when you pull the whole length off, the tape's just going to sort of fall on the table, if you know what I mean. So just always pull outwards like that and try and do it in one long run. Done. Look at that, perfect edge, no runs, nothing. So I did a good job of taping it up. Success. And why? Because I set it up so I couldn't make a mistake. This is the last part of the job. Just giving that face a light sand to bring out the colour of the timber a tiny bit. Bloody loud thicknesser. Can't hear myself think. But just give this a light sand, just so it matches the face. Give it that charred look. I'm trying to do this and film at the same time. I don't even know if I'm filming it right. So this is the very last part of the job. I'll spend so much time on these doors, so much work involved. Things that people don't even see on there. It's just little things that take so much time. Oh, these are all pre-drilled, countersunk, plugged. Like there's all plugs. That's a plug there, plug there, plug there, plug there. Like you can't even see them. Just little things like that is what takes time. So there's a bit of prep work in that. So I'll just sand it lightly until I get the right texture, the right look I want. And that's looking pretty good there. Alright, done. Don't overdo it. Beautiful. So that's this one whole door complete.